Hello, Eugene here. I want to do a video on the concept of coherence theory of truth. So, this is a concept from philosophy. You can see a quick reference here from Stanford, for example. You can go to the Wikipedia page if you want to go ahead and get more detail. I've been reading this throughout the years, and it's a philosophical concept. So, the basic gist of this point of view of how to find out what reality is, or the truth is that you do not focus on finding out what the truth is, but instead of focus is finding out if the arguments being put forward are coherent or not. If they are not coherent, therefore you discard them. If they are coherent, you keep them, and you can somewhat assess which one is more coherent than another one. You can't always do this. But what this means overall is that you might have conflicting arguments about something that are as equally valid as the other, even though they're contradicting each other. And a lot of this has to do with we don't always know what the premises are, if they're outside influence, especially like once you're talking about really complex stuff. You don't always know what's all the factors affecting something, right? You might have an idea, try to get something right or wrong, but you don't always know. So having different premises to arrive to different conclusions about something is valid. It's actually quite healthy. So to give you an example, say if you're traveling and you go to a motel and you spend the night and you wake up and the windows are covered with water, right? So you don't know what caused that. Maybe it rained last night and you just haven't checked your phone. Maybe the sprinklers went off and hit the window when you were sleeping. That might be a possibility. Maybe there were some kids playing with water balloons, water guns, or maybe you're close to the pool and they splash on water, right? So there are multiple possibilities as to why the window is wet. They're all equally coherent. And with further investigation, you can probably figure it out. But that's the basic gist of it, right? You cannot say without all the information that one is not as valid as the other. When there's no conclusive evidence for it, right? And a lot of the arguments you see, how at least I see, my point of view between people, is that they don't understand in the first place that yes, because something makes sense to them, it does not mean that the other guy is necessarily wrong, right? This may be the case. Right? Maybe you can prove something with deductive logic, or you can see what the other guy is saying and maybe prove a premise wrong. But they can be two people or more with different arguments, and they're all equally as valid. Right? This is a very common thing with science, right? They have their hypotheses, they have their theories, they put forward the evidence, they argue, they do more testing, and they figure it out. So it's pretty healthy. But the average regular person doesn't do this. Even a lot of scientists don't do this. They get obsessed with their own little idea. So related to this, right? So if you're looking at the news, political debates, corporate debates, like and a lot of hot topics, right? So say environmental impact, is CO2 good or bad? Who's dumping the plastic in the ocean, right? So those are the environmental impacts. Politics, left or right, who's writing this issue, etc. So there's a lot of arguments going on right now in general society, right? Even business, right? So, and people don't really have the tools to understand what is going on and argue properly. And I'll give you one example. People right now are obsessed with the idea of facts, and you can see it's like just turn on the news. These are the facts. Blah, 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 blah. And you hear it repeated a lot. But one of the things that they fail to notice is that they're not quoting facts. They are quoting an interpretation of the facts. Right, so say for example there was this current murder case, can't remember the name of the person, but pretty much it was this 20-something, early 20s, I believe she was a Korean student, that is being accused of murdering her boyfriend because he committed suicide, and right before he committed suicide, he was depressed, he was sending text messages to his girlfriend about how he's miserable, he wants to kill himself. And she said something like, yeah, you suck. Go kill yourself. And the guy actually did do it. And if you look at the news articles that I read, the people trying to get her arrested for this are kind of cherry picking a few statements on the text messages that she sent, and then implying that she meant deliberately to kill the guy because of this, which, me reading it and me having had relationships in the past, I had a girl like, yeah, you suck, go kill yourself or something like that. Either me or my friends, I've heard conversations like that. I want to die. I feel so miserable. It doesn't necessarily mean if someone says I want to die that they actually want to die. Say for example, if you see a text message saying, oh my God, I want to die. Oh my, right, I want to die. Oh my God. Maybe it's two friends to say, for example, this will be something I've heard actual female friends say to each other. Like, one is getting married, the other one says, oh my God, I want to die, meaning she's so excited and happy that the other one's getting married, and it's pretty emotional, right? It doesn't necessarily mean objectively that the person wants to die. In the text messages, if you take that specific text out of context, and yes, because it says, oh my God, I want to die, that's a fact. The interpretation you put behind that fact is not a fact. First of all, people don't get the difference. Second of all, they use these fact arguments saying, to imply that there's only one reality, one point of view of seeing the things, which, in very simple arguments, where you can use even deductive logic, if A equals B, B equals C, then A equals C, right? That type of logic is usually used for algebra, for example, and it can be applied outside in the real world, but not always, right? Yeah, maybe that's the case. Maybe some simple stuff like that, but you have really complex stuff going on, especially like social interactions. It's very hard to be very specific on what people's motivations, people's meaning behind things are, etc. So, and even in data, like a lot of the data, for example, that we're getting are based on computer models, and they might be close to the truth, or they might be completely off, or but it's almost possible it's completely 100% true because you cannot reflect reality. So people are making these models, making statistics, which may or may not be true, right? Or they're misinterpreting what a fact is, and they're getting the interpretation behind the fact. And they're saying, well, this is a fact, therefore you are wrong. Look, well, yes, because your argument makes sense, even if it makes sense to you, does not necessarily mean that the other person's argument is not valid. And this is very dangerous, and this is causing a lot of antagonism between people, because they're so obsessed with their side being right that they're not looking at the other side. But at the same time, you have the other side of the coin, where people's arguments that are complete bullshit, they're illogical, incoherent, make no sense, are being told that they are equally as valid, and to discard them makes you a bad person, or you just cannot refuse it. Because one of these things to say, oh, you're just against another person's point of view. And not necessarily. If you're attacking the premise and conclusion and proving it's wrong, the argument is wrong. But they don't focus, and most people are idiots that cannot focus and give you a coherent premise and conclusion. They don't even understand that a premise and conclusion exists. It is non sequitur. You just talk to people, they're morons. But they'll go on saying, well, your argument is equally valid as mine, and what they're kind of inferring by this. They're implying that, well, I'm kind of like the, I'm a human being. I have the same equal-sided rights, or blah blah blah. So you cannot say you have more rights over this, or something like that, right? Or maybe like critical or something like that. They don't attack the argument. So you cannot either say other people's points of view are equally valid without making sure it's coherent. So this is where the theory of coherence comes from, right? Is the argument coherent? Premise and conclusion, does it make sense? Has any of the premises changed? Because in, again, complex systems, especially social systems, what's correct today may not be correct tomorrow. Right? The premises change. And the premises are affected and interrelated to each other. So if one premise change, it might affect the whole argument, right? It might affect the other premises. Right? So basically that's my overall worldview. If that makes any sense, I feel like this is very, very useful, and actually it's sort of a little harder than to explain than thought. But yeah, so it's pretty much is your argument coherent or not? Is the other person's argument coherent or not? If one of the arguments is not coherent, prove it wrong, scratch it. It's a wrong argument. If both arguments are coherent, is one more probable than the other would be another way to determine which one is more valid. And if you cannot determine if one is more valid than the other, then you got to realize both are equally valid. And just like they do in science or philosophy, right? You might have to wait for more information to come in, do an experiment, etc. But you cannot just discredit. And this is probably going to help understand other people's points of view, first of all. But like I said, at the same time, most people don't realize that their point of view is bullshit. They don't realize that just because they have an opinion about something does not make it equally valid to a coherent argument with a premise and conclusion. These idiots don't even realize the basics of logical fallacy and so on. So you gotta realize too, if you can understand this stuff, you gotta realize you're talking to a minority too, which is kind of the problem for the whole social transformation premise I put in the beginning. Because literally, what the problem you have, if you understand this stuff, there's only a very small minority of people that understand this stuff, also, and it's a small voice, and the people don't get it. They don't get it, but they believe their opinions are as equally valid as someone who does get it, right? Their incoherent gibberish is their opinion, and they have a right to their opinion, is what they say. They have a right to an opinion. And the other arguments they use too is that this is my truth, right? Again, it might be true that you have your own perspective and is equally as valid, but at the same time, it might be true that your own truth is incoherent gibberish, right? So you have to be able to have the intelligence to understand premise and conclusion. Anyways, if you get it, you get it. Kind of like Nietzsche said, if you can grasp me, grasp me. If you can grasp me, grasp me. I believe I missed a P there. But I'm not going to be your crutch, right? That's a very interesting quote from Nietzsche that stuck with me. So, anyways, if someone heard this, liked it,